An 8-year secret exposed when a daughter unknowingly saves her own father's life. The question, can love survive 8 years of lies and separation? And when the truth finally comes out, will it heal old wounds or create new ones that can never be mended? The cost of silence, a CEO, a secret, and a 7-year-old hero. "Mommy, can my blood save a life?" The question came from Lily Evans, a 7-year-old, with her small hand desperately clutching her mother's scrubs. All around them, the emergency room of the Portland General Hospital pulsed with controlled chaos. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting stark shadows on worried faces. The sharp scent of disinfectant mingled with the metallic tang of blood. Somewhere down the hall, a heart monitor flatlined. Its jarring alarm cut through the night, and Sarah Miller felt her own heart shatter as she looked into her daughter's innocent blue eyes, eyes that were a mirror of the dying man just 20 feet away. The man she had loved, the man she had abandoned to protect, the father her daughter had never known. Sarah was beyond exhausted. Her 12-hour shift weighed on shoulders that carried far more than just physical fatigue. For 8 years, she had borne the weight of a secret that had cost her everything. Now, that secret was about to collide with fate in the most unimaginable way. Her hands trembled as she embraced her daughter, knowing the next decision would change their lives forever. In Trauma Bay 1, Ethan Caldwell, the brilliant CEO splashed across magazine covers and news headlines, was bleeding out. His life was measured in minutes, perhaps seconds. AB-negative blood, the rarest type, was his only hope. And the universe, with its cruel sense of irony, had delivered that hope in the form of a brave little girl in a red dress. Dr. Peterson appeared beside Sarah, his weathered face grave with urgency. "Sarah, we're out of time." Lily's blood type matches. She could save him. The emergency room seemed to hold its breath. Nurses paused mid-step. Even the incessant beeping of the machines seemed to mute, as if the entire hospital awaited Sarah's answer. How could she explain that the dying stranger was no stranger at all? How could she tell her daughter that the man whose life hung by a thread was the very father she'd asked about countless times? Lily looked up at her mother with a determination far beyond her 7 years. "If I can help, I want to help. You always say that's what heroes do, Mommy." In that moment, Sarah saw not just her daughter's courage, but the echo of the man she had once loved. That same stubborn resolve, that same instinct to help others, no matter the personal cost. Lily didn't know she was about to save her own father. She simply knew someone needed her, and that was enough. The staff around them watched with bated breath as Sarah knelt, her voice choked. "Honey, you're right. Heroes help people even when they're scared, and you are the bravest person I know." As Lily was led away to donate the life-saving blood, Sarah felt the carefully constructed wall she had erected for 8 years begin to crumble. She had sacrificed everything to give Ethan Caldwell the freedom to build his empire, believing a child would destroy his dreams. Now, that very child was giving him something more precious than any business deal or merger. She was giving him life itself. Call to action. Don't look away. Comment right now. If you were Sarah, would you tell Ethan the truth immediately or wait for him to recover? Like this video and let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel. The crash that brought a family home. Rain lashed against the windshield of the sleek black Porsche as Ethan Caldwell navigated the slick streets of Portland. He had the phone glued to his ear. Bluetooth had failed moments earlier, and his mind was a blur of numbers and projections. The merger with TechSphere Industries was finally closing. 5 years of negotiations, countless sleepless nights, and everything was falling into place. His company, Caldwell Dynamics, would become the leading medical tech firm in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, Robert, I understand the concerns, but the board will see this is the right move, Ethan said, his voice firm, despite the tension coiling in his shoulders. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. At 33, he had built an empire, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the culmination of everything he had sacrificed for. The wipers scraped frantically at the glass, barely coping with the November deluge. Ethan's dark brown hair was perfectly styled, his charcoal suit immaculate even at 11 o'clock at night. Success was his armor, his identity. It was all he had left after she disappeared. He shook his head, pushing the thought of Sarah Miller away. That was 8 years ago. Ancient history. He was now engaged to Victoria Harrington, a woman who understood his world, his ambition. A woman who would never vanish without explanation. The deer appeared out of nowhere. Ethan's heart leaped at the sight of the animal frozen in his headlights, its eyes reflecting two beams of terror. He swerved hard to the right. His phone flew from his hand. The Porsche hydroplaned on the rain-slicked asphalt, spinning like a flipped coin. Time slowed as Ethan felt the sickening weightlessness of losing control. The car rolled once, twice, 3 times. Metal shrieked against the pavement. Glass shattered in a symphony of destruction. Ethan's head slammed into the window despite the airbag deployment. His last conscious thought was strange. He saw Sarah's face, those impossibly blue eyes, looking at him with an expression he had never understood. Then, only darkness. The impact had thrown him 30 feet from the vehicle. As flames began to lick at the engine, a passing truck driver named Tom Williams was already on his phone, screaming for emergency services. The Porsche exploded in an orange fireball, illuminating the rain-soaked night like a miniature sun. At Portland General Hospital, Sarah Miller was nearing the end of her night shift in the emergency department. Her blonde hair was pulled back into a practical ponytail, and her scrubs were wrinkled from 12 hours of constant motion. At 33, she wore the weight of single motherhood, with a grace that belied the exhaustion in her bones. Every night shift meant more money, more stability for Lily, more hope that they could finally get ahead. She was updating a patient chart when the emergency call came in. The radio crackled with the medic's urgent voice. "Portland General, Unit 12. We have a critical inbound. Male, 30s, multiple trauma from MVA with vehicle fire, massive internal bleeding, severe head trauma. Patient is coding. ETA 4 minutes." Sarah's training kicked in immediately. She moved with practiced efficiency, calling in Dr. Peterson and prepping Trauma Bay 1. The adrenaline that came with these moments never faded, no matter how many emergencies she had seen. "Sarah, I need you on this one," Dr. Peterson said, his gray hair slightly disheveled as he rushed from his office. He had been her mentor since nursing school days, and she trusted his instincts implicitly. The ambulance doors burst open, and paramedics pushed in the gurney. Sarah's hands were already reaching for IV access when she heard the name. "Patient is Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Dynamics. Found on scene pulseless. We revived him after 2 rounds of CPR, but he's unstable." Sarah's world tilted on its axis. Her hands froze for a fraction of a second, just long enough for Dr. Peterson to notice. She forced herself to move, to breathe, to function. This was not the time for personal history. This was life or death, but it was him. Even with blood matted in his dark hair, even with his face swollen and bruised, she would recognize him anywhere. The man she had loved with every fiber of her being. The man she had left to protect. Her daughter's father. "Sarah, I need you to focus." Dr. Peterson's voice cut through her shock. "Yes, doctor, I'm here." Her voice was steadier than she felt. "Question time. Do they have a chance? How do you think Ethan will react when he learns Lily is his daughter? Will he forgive Sarah? Like and share your predictions in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe. The trauma bay erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses moved like dancers in a well-rehearsed ballet of life-saving procedures. Sarah worked alongside them, her hands steady even as her heart hammered against her ribs. "He's lost too much blood," Dr. Peterson said gravely, studying the monitors. "We need to type and cross immediately, Sarah. Get me 4 units to start." Sarah ran to the blood bank, her legs mechanical, her mind reeling. When she returned, the news was devastating. "It's AB negative," said the lab tech, her young face creased with worry. "We're completely depleted. The regional blood bank won't have a delivery until morning. It's the rarest type, doctor. We have maybe 30 minutes before we lose him." Dr. Peterson's jaw tightened. "Contact every hospital in the metro area. Someone has to have AB negative." The calls went out. The answers were all negative. Sarah stood by Ethan's bedside, watching the monitors, seeing his life ebb away with every dropping number. She had spent 8 years trying to forget him, trying to justify her decision to vanish, trying to convince herself she had done the right thing. Now he was dying in front of her, and all those justifications turned to ash. She had just stepped out of the trauma bay, her hands shaking, when she heard Lily's voice. "Mommy!" Sarah's heart stopped. Her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, was supposed to be watching Lily until morning. What was she doing here? Lily ran down the corridor, her small feet slapping on the linoleum. She was wearing her favorite red dress, the one she insisted on wearing at least 3 times a week, and her blonde curls bounced with every step. Her blue eyes, so much like Sarah's, were wide with concern. "Honey, what are you doing here?" Sarah knelt, hugging her daughter tightly. "Mrs. Thompson said there was an emergency and she had to bring me. She said you needed me." Lily's small arms wrapped around Sarah's neck. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Sarah hadn't realized tears were streaming down her face. She wiped them away quickly, trying to smile. "Mommy is just tired, sweetie. It's been a long night." Mrs. Thompson, a kind woman in her 60s, approached apologetically. "Sarah, I am so sorry. My son called. His wife went into labor. I had no one else to watch Lily. I thought bringing her here was better than leaving her alone." "No, it's fine," Sarah said. Though nothing was fine. Nothing would ever be fine again. Lily broke free from her mother's arms and looked at the busy emergency room with curious eyes. "Mommy, can I help? You always say the nurses help people feel better." Sarah managed a weak smile. "That's very sweet, honey. But—" "Sarah!" Dr. Peterson's voice boomed down the hall. He was striding toward them, his face grave. "We're out of options. We need AB negative blood in the next 15 minutes, or we lose him." Lily tugged on Sarah's scrubs. "What is AB negative?" Dr. Peterson looked at the little girl, then back at Sarah. In that moment, Sarah saw the recognition in his eyes. He knew. Of course he knew. She had confided in him years ago, during one particularly difficult night shift, when the weight of single motherhood had threatened to crush her. "Lily, sweetie," Dr. Peterson said gently, kneeling to her height. "Do you remember when you fell off your bike last year and had to come to the hospital?" Lily nodded solemnly. "I got stitches, 5 of them." "That's right. And did you remember the doctors taking a tiny bit of your blood to make sure you were all right?" "Uh-huh. Well, your blood type is very special. It's called AB negative, and there's a man in there," he pointed toward the trauma bay, "who is very sick and needs that special blood to get better." Sarah gasped. "Michael, no, you can't ask her. She's 7. But Lily's eyes had lit up with understanding and resolve. "I can help. My blood can help someone." "Lily, honey, it's not that simple," Sarah said, her voice cracking. How could she explain this? How could she let her daughter save the life of a man who didn't even know she existed? "Mommy, you always tell me that helping people is the most important thing we can do. You say that's why you became a nurse." Lily's small hand found Sarah's. "If my blood can help, I want to help." Dr. Peterson looked at Sarah. his expression a mix of sympathy and urgency. "Sarah, I wouldn't ask if there was any other option. But that man in there has perhaps 10 minutes left. Lily is young, healthy. A pediatric blood donation is safe if done carefully. She could save his life." Sarah closed her eyes. The universe had a cruel sense of irony. 8 years ago, she had walked away from Ethan to give him the life he deserved, free from the burden of an unplanned child. Now that same child was being asked to save him. "Mommy?" Lily's voice was small but firm. "Is the sick man someone important?" Sarah looked down at her daughter, this brave, beautiful child who had her father's resolve and her mother's compassion. She thought of all the nights Lily had asked about her daddy, all the times Sarah had given vague answers and changed the subject. She thought of the secrets she had kept and the price of those secrets. "Yes, honey," Sarah whispered. "He is very important." "Then I want to help." Lily's chin lifted, her small jaw set with a resolution that was heartbreakingly familiar. The blood donation was done quickly. Lily sat in a chair that was too big for her, her legs dangling over the floor. She squeezed Sarah's hand as the needle went in. Her face winced for a moment, but she didn't cry. She was braver than Sarah had ever been. "You're doing great, sweetie," the phlebotomist said warmly. "Just a little bit more." Lily watched as her blood flowed through the tube, dark red and vital. "Is this really going to help someone?" "Yes, honey. It is saving a life tonight." Sarah stroked her daughter's hair, her own heart breaking and healing simultaneously. When it was over, Lily was given juice and cookies. She wore her bandage like a badge of honor. "Mommy, can I meet the person I helped? I want to make sure he's okay." Sarah's throat tightened. "Maybe, honey. Let's see how he is first." In the trauma bay, Ethan Caldwell's life was being pulled back from the brink. The AB negative blood flowed into his veins, precious and life-giving. His vitals began to stabilize. The emergency surgery to repair his internal injuries lasted 7 hours. Dr. Peterson worked with intense focus, his skilled hands rebuilding the damage of the accident. Sarah stayed at the hospital long after her shift, unable to leave. She kept Lily in the nurse's lounge, where her daughter colored pictures, and finally fell asleep on the small couch, her red dress spread out around her like petals. Dawn was breaking when Dr. Peterson emerged from surgery, exhausted but triumphant. "He's going to make it. We almost lost him twice on the table, but that blood donation bought us the time we needed. He's in the ICU now, sedated. Should wake up in the next day or two." Sarah nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Dr. Peterson put a hand on her shoulder. "Sarah, you'll have to tell him sooner or later." "I know, but knowing and doing were two different things." A strange familiarity. 3 days later, Ethan opened his eyes to the harsh fluorescent lights and the constant beeping of monitors. His head throbbed, and every breath brought sharp twinges to his ribs. He was alive, which was more than he had expected after seeing his car explode in the rearview mirror during those final seconds of rolling. Dr. Peterson was there within minutes, checking vitals and asking the standard questions. Ethan answered mechanically, his mind trying to piece together what had happened. "You are a very lucky man, Mr. Caldwell," Dr. Peterson said. "You had massive internal bleeding and severe head trauma. We nearly lost you several times." "How am I alive?" Ethan's voice was raspy, his throat irritated from the intubation tube. Dr. Peterson smiled. "You have a 7-year-old girl to thank. You have AB negative blood. Very rare. We had no stock, and you were bleeding out. A little girl named Lily donated her blood to save you." Ethan blinked, processing this information. "A girl? She donated blood for me?" "She insisted on it, actually. Quite a brave little thing. She's been asking about you to make sure you're okay." Something stirred in Ethan's chest, an emotion he couldn't name. A stranger, a child, had saved his life. "I'd like to meet her. Thank her. I'll arrange it." Dr. Peterson paused, his expression growing more serious. Mr. Caldwell, you should know you've been unconscious for 3 days. The accident was all over the news. Your fiancée, Victoria, has been here several times. Your CFO, Richard White, has been coordinating with hospital administration regarding your care. Ethan nodded. Of course Victoria would handle things efficiently. That was her. Organized, controlled, appropriate. He should feel grateful, but all he felt was an odd emptiness. That afternoon, Dr. Peterson brought Lily to his room. She walked in carefully, her bright red dress against the sterile whites and blues of the hospital room. Her blonde curls framed her face, and her blue eyes were wide with curiosity and concern. Ethan's breath hitched. She was beautiful, this small child who had saved him. But there was something more, something that made his heart lurch in his chest, something familiar in the curve of her cheek, the shape of her eyes. "Hello, Mr. Caldwell," Lily said politely, her small hands clasped in front. "I'm Lily. I'm glad you're feeling better." "Hello, Lily." Ethan's voice was softer than it had been in years. "I'm told you saved my life." Lily looked serious. "I gave you my blood. Dr. Peterson said you needed the special kind, and I have the special kind too. That was very brave of you. Were you scared?" "A little bit," Lily admitted. "But Mommy held my hand the whole time. She said being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing, even when you are scared. Your mother sounds like a wise woman." Ethan felt something twist in his chest. This child, this brave child, had the kind of moral clarity he had lost in boardrooms and quarterly reports. Lily smiled and lit up the room. She reached into her little bag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I made you a drawing. Mommy says pictures make sick people feel better." He carefully unfolded it. It was a crayon drawing of a hospital room. In the bed was a stick man with brown hair. Standing next to the bed was a smaller figure with yellow hair and a red dress. Both figures were smiling, and there were flowers drawn in the corners. "That's you getting better, and that's me making sure you're okay," Lily explained. Ethan took the drawing with trembling hands. When was the last time anyone had given him something so pure, so genuine? He couldn't remember. Everything in his life was transactions and negotiations. This was simply kindness. "It's beautiful, Lily. Thank you. I will keep this forever." Lily beamed. "Really?" "Forever, forever," Ethan promised. They talked for a while longer. Lily told him about her school, her favorite color, red, obviously, her best friend Emma, and her dream of becoming a doctor when she grew up. Ethan found himself genuinely interested, asking questions, laughing at her innocent observations about the world. He noticed she never mentioned her father. When a nurse came in to check Ethan's vitals, Lily politely excused herself. "I should go find Mommy. She's working her shift, but I'll come back to visit if you'd like." "I would like that very much." After Lily left, Ethan lay there, staring at the drawing. Something was nagging at him, a piece of the puzzle that didn't quite fit. The blue eyes, the blonde hair, the way she spoke with careful enunciation. She reminded him of someone, but the memory was blurred, distorted by the pain medication and the head trauma. That night, Sarah could no longer avoid the inevitable. Dr. Peterson had called her into Ethan's room. She stood outside the door for a full minute, gathering her courage. 8 years of secrets were about to collide with the present, and she had no idea how to control the fallout. She tapped gently and opened the door. Ethan was sitting up in bed, looking better than he had 3 days ago, but still battered. His head was bandaged, and bruises covered his face. When he looked up and saw her, every muscle in his body tensed. "Sarah?" Her name came out barely a whisper, disbelief and shock intertwined. "Hello, Ethan." Her voice was steady, but her hands were trembling. She clasped them behind her back. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other. 8 years collapsed into seconds. Ethan saw the woman he had loved desperately, the woman he had chased in his dreams, standing in his hospital room in nurse's scrubs. She was still beautiful, perhaps even more so. Time had given her a depth, a strength that hadn't been there when they were young and in love. "What are you doing here?" Ethan finally managed. His heart was hammering, and the monitors betrayed his agitation with their quickened beeping. "I work here. I'm an ER nurse." "You work here." Ethan repeated it as if trying to understand a foreign language. "All this time, you've been in Portland?" "Yes." Sarah stepped closer, though every instinct told her to run. "Ethan, I know you must have questions." "Questions?" Ethan's voice rose. Then it broke. "You disappeared, Sarah. 8 years ago. You just vanished. I looked for you. For months I searched everywhere. And you've been right here, in the same city?" "I can explain." "Can you?" Ethan's eyes were blazing now, hurt and anger mixed with something that looked dangerously close to tears. "Can you explain why the woman I loved, the woman I wanted to marry, just left without a word? Can you explain why you blocked my number, moved without telling me where, cut me out of your life like I meant nothing?" Sarah felt her own eyes burn. "You meant everything, Ethan. That's why I left." "That makes no sense." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, wincing at the pain the movement caused. "If I meant something, you would have stayed. You would have talked to me. You would have—" He stopped abruptly. His eyes flickered to the drawing Lily had made, still on his nightstand. Then they snapped back to Sarah, truly looking at her for the first time. The blue eyes, the blonde hair, the careful, measured way she held herself. Lily. The girl who saved my life. Sarah's composure cracked. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "Yes, she's yours." Ethan's mind raced, calculating, remembering. 7 years old. Lily was 7, which meant she was born 8 years ago, conceived perhaps 8.5 years ago. Just when Sarah had disappeared, his eyes widened as the truth hit him like a second car crash. "She's mine." Sarah nodded. Unable to speak. "I have a daughter." Ethan's voice was hollow, shock robbing it of all inflection. "I have a 7-year-old daughter, and you never told me. I have a daughter." The monitors went wild tonight. A nurse burst into the room, checking the machines with practiced efficiency. "Mr. Caldwell, you need to calm down. Your blood pressure is spiking," the nurse said firmly. "Get out," Ethan said through gritted teeth, never taking his eyes off Sarah. "Everyone out now." The nurse looked at Sarah, who nodded. They retreated, leaving Sarah and Ethan alone in the tense silence. Ethan was breathing hard, his hands gripping the bed rail so tightly his knuckles were white. "Tell me everything. Right now, you owe me that." Sarah pulled a chair close to his bed and sat down heavily. 8 years of secrets was a crushing weight, and she was finally going to release it. "I found out I was pregnant a week before I disappeared," she began, her voice low but firm. "We had been together 6 months. I was still in nursing school. You were barely getting Caldwell Dynamics off the ground. Remember how crazy that time was? You were working 18-hour days, trying to secure funding, trying to keep everything from falling apart." Ethan nodded slowly. He remembered. Those months had been a whirlwind of stress and desperation, and the only thing that had kept him sane was Sarah. Coming home to her smile, her laugh, her unwavering belief in him. "I was excited," Sarah continued, a sad smile touching her face. "Scared, but excited. I thought we could figure it out together. We always figured things out together. Then what happened?" Ethan's voice was quieter now, but no less intense. "Your father happened." Sarah looked him in the eyes. "William Caldwell happened." Ethan's blood ran cold. "What did he do?" Sarah took a shaky breath. "He found out about the pregnancy before I could tell you. I don't know how. Maybe he was tracking me. Maybe he had someone at my doctor's office. I'll never know. But one day, He showed up at my apartment. Just showed up on my doorstep like a nightmare. I can still see him standing there, tall and imperious in his expensive suit, looking at my small apartment with barely concealed disdain. He offered me $500,000 to disappear from your life and never tell you about the baby. Ethan's jaw dropped. He what? I told him to go to hell, Sarah said, and there was pride in her voice. I told him I loved you and I would never take money to leave you. I told him we would raise our child together, that you had a right to know. Then why? Because he played his last card. Sarah's voice broke. He told me about the TechSphere merger, the one that was supposed to save your company. He said the investors were conservative, family values people. If they found out you got a nursing student pregnant, they would walk. Your company would collapse. Everything you had worked for would be gone. Ethan felt sick. This sounded exactly like something his father would do. William Caldwell had always believed the ends justified the means, that personal relationships were secondary to business success. He said that if I truly loved you, I would let you have your dream, that a baby would destroy everything. Sarah wiped her eyes. And I believed him, Ethan. God help me. I was young and scared, and I believed him. I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was giving you the life you deserved. So you just left. Ethan's voice was flat. I left because I loved you. I left because I thought I was doing the right thing. Sarah leaned forward, desperate for him to understand. Every single day for 8 years, I have questioned that decision. Every time Lily asked about her father, every time I struggled to pay the bills on a nurse's salary, every time I saw your face on the news or in the paper, I wondered if I had made a terrible mistake. Ethan was silent for a long time. Anger, pain, and understanding battled inside him. Part of him wanted to rage, to throw her out, to reject this explanation. But another part, the part that remembered loving Sarah Miller with all his heart, understood the impossible position his father had put her in. You should have told me, he said finally. We should have faced it together. I know that now. But then... She was 25, pregnant, and terrified. Your father was a powerful, intimidating man who seemed to have all the answers. He convinced me that staying would be selfish, that leaving was an act of love. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. I was wrong. I know I was wrong, but I thought I was protecting you. And Lily? Ethan's voice broke on his daughter's name. Did you think you were protecting her too? Every day, Sarah said fiercely. Every day, I tried to give her the best life I could. I worked double shifts. I scraped by so she had what she needed. I made sure she was loved and safe and happy. She is an amazing little girl, Ethan. Smart, kind, brave. She is perfect. I missed 7 years of her life. The pain in Ethan's voice was palpable. 7 years of birthdays, first days of school, scraped knees, bedtime stories. You stole that from me. I know. Sarah's tears were flowing freely now. I know, and I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. If I could go back. But you can't, Ethan interrupted. None of us can. That time is gone forever. They sat in silence, the weight of the revelation pressing down on both of them. Outside the hospital room, life continued. Nurses made their rounds, monitors beeped. But inside this small space, 2 people were grappling with a past that had shaped their entire present. Does she know? Ethan asked quietly. Does Lily know I'm her father? Sarah hesitated. Then she nodded. She figured it out. She's smart, Ethan. She saw us together. She saw my reaction. She asked me outright, and I couldn't lie to her, not about this. What did you tell her about me? The truth. That you are brilliant, ambitious, and kind. That you didn't know about her because I made a decision I thought was right, but turned out to be wrong. That her father is a good man, who would have loved her if he had known she existed. Ethan closed his eyes. I need time to process this. All of this. It's too much. Sarah stood up, understanding the dismissal. Of course, I'll go. But Ethan, For what it's worth, Lily wants to know you. If you're willing, if you can forgive me enough to let her into your life, she would love that." "I need to think," Ethan said without opening his eyes. Sarah walked toward the door, her heart heavy. But before she left, she turned back. "Ethan, thank you for not dying. Lily would have been devastated to lose you before she even truly had you." Then she was gone, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts and the crayon drawing of the little girl in a red dress. The new priority. The next few days were a blur for Ethan. Victoria visited, all efficiency and passionate planning. She had already spoken to the board about his extended recovery time. She had managed the media coverage of his accident. She had everything under control. She barely mentioned Lily, treating the revelation of Ethan's daughter as a minor inconvenience to be managed rather than a life-altering piece of news. "We need to be strategic about this," Victoria said, sitting in the chair by his bedside, her designer dress perfectly pressed despite the hospital setting. "The media will have a field day if they find out. We need to control the narrative." "Control the narrative," Ethan repeated slowly. "Victoria, she's my daughter. I understand, darling, but we have to think about your image, the company's image. A secret daughter from a past relationship? Not ideal timing with the merger finalizing." Ethan looked at her, perhaps truly seeing her for the first time. When had she become so cold, so calculating? Or had she always been this way, and he had simply chosen not to notice? "I don't care about the timing," Ethan said firmly. "She is my daughter. That's all that matters." Victoria's smile was patient, but forced. "Of course, Ethan, but we should discuss how to handle this delicately. Perhaps a generous settlement for the mother, a trust fund for the child, but kept at an appropriate distance until after the wedding and the merger." "An appropriate distance? Victoria, are you listening to what you're saying?" "I'm being practical. Someone has to be." Victoria glanced at her watch. "I have a meeting with the wedding caterer. I'll visit tomorrow. Try to rest." She kissed his cheek and left, leaving Ethan feeling lonelier than he had in years. Richard White visited, too. His expression was one of genuine concern. He had been Ethan's best friend since college, his right-hand man in building Caldwell Dynamics. But when Ethan brought up Lily, Richard's face went pale. "You knew," Ethan said, watching his friend's reaction. "You knew what my father did." Richard sank into this chair, looking older than his 50 years. "Yes, I knew. And you didn't say anything. For 8 years you said nothing. William made me promise. He said it was for your own good, that Sarah leaving was what was best for everyone." Richard ran a hand over his face. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I thought he was right. The merger did save the company. You became a success beyond our wildest dreams. I convinced myself the ends justified the means. There's a little girl out there who grew up without a father because of those means," Ethan said coldly. "A little girl who saved my life not knowing she was her father. I know, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life." Richard looked him in the eyes. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to meet my daughter, and I'm going to figure out how to be the father she deserves, even if I'm 8 years late." Lily visited Ethan every day. Sarah tried to limit the visits, worried that Lily would get too attached before Ethan decided what role he wanted to play in her life. But Lily insisted. "He's my daddy, Mommy," she would say with the simple logic of childhood. "I want to know him." The visits became the best part of Ethan's recovery. Lily would arrive in her red dress, always bringing something new to share. A drawing, a book she liked, a heart-shaped rock she found. They talked about everything and nothing. Ethan learned that Lily loved science, that she was terrible at soccer, but kept trying anyway, that she had a goldfish named Mr. Bubbles, who had lived for 3 years, even though everyone said goldfish only lived a few months. In return, Ethan told her about his childhood, about building tree houses and catching fireflies. He omitted the parts about his cold, demanding father and his lonely teenage years. He wanted to give her the good parts, the parts that would make her proud to be his daughter. One afternoon, Lily arrived with her backpack full of school supplies. "I have homework," she announced. "Can I do it here? Mommy is on her shift, and Mrs. Thompson is making dinner. So I have time." "Of course," Ethan said, genuinely pleased. He watched her as she carefully spread out her papers and pencils on the nightstand, her small face serious with concentration. "What are you working on?" "Math. I have to do my multiplication tables up to 12. She wrinkled her nose. "It's hard. I can help you." "Really? That would be great." Mommy tries to help, but she's not very good either. They worked through the problems together, Ethan finding creative ways to explain the concepts. He made up stories about multiplication, turning the numbers into adventures. Lily caught on quickly, her excitement growing with every correct answer. "You make it make sense," she said, beaming at him. "My teacher just says to memorize it, but you explain why it works." Pride blossomed in Ethan's chest, warm and unfamiliar. This was his daughter, smart, determined, capable. And he was helping her learn. When Sarah came to pick up Lily at the end of her shift, she found them huddled over a math worksheet, both laughing about something. The scene stopped her dead in her tracks. This was what she had denied them both for so long. This easy connection, this natural bond between father and daughter. Ethan looked up and caught her expression. For a moment their eyes met, and something passed between them. Understanding, perhaps, or forgiveness, or just shared awe at the child they had created together. "Mommy, look. I got all my multiplication problems right. Daddy helped me." Lily's enthusiasm was infectious. Daddy. She had called him Daddy. Ethan's eyes were suspiciously bright. Sarah saw his throat bob as he swallowed hard. "That is wonderful, sweetie," Sarah managed. Her own voice was husky. "Can I come back tomorrow?" Lily asked Ethan. "I have a science project I might need help with. We're learning about the human body, and you're in the hospital, so you know all about that, right?" Ethan chuckled, the sound rusty but genuine. "I would love to help you with your science project. What time should I expect my research assistant?" "After school, at 3:30. Lily hugged him carefully, mindful of his injuries. "Goodbye, Daddy. Get well soon so you can come see our apartment. I want to show you my room." And Mr. Bubbles. After they left, Ethan sat in the quiet hospital room, turning the word over in his mind. Daddy, he was someone's father. The responsibility, the joy, the terrifying beauty of it all overwhelmed him. He picked up his phone and called Victoria. "We need to talk," he said when she answered. "It's important." They met in the hospital cafeteria the next day. Victoria looked perfect as always, her auburn hair impeccably styled, her outfit reflecting expensive taste. She was everything Ethan thought he wanted in a partner. Sophisticated, successful, comfortable in his world. But she wasn't Sarah, and more importantly, she wasn't someone who could accept Lily as part of his life. "Victoria, I've been thinking about us." Ethan started carefully. She smiled, reaching across the table to take his hand. "I've been thinking about us, too. I know this has been hard, but we'll get through it. I've already spoken to a lawyer about drawing up a custody agreement that will simplify things." "Simplify?" Ethan pulled his hand back. "Victoria, Lily is my daughter. There's nothing simple about that." "Ethan, darling, you're still recovering. You're emotional. Once you think clearly." "I'm thinking clearly. Probably more clearly than I have in years." He leaned back, studying her face. "Do you like children, Victoria?" She blinked, taken aback by the direct question. "Of course I like children. In theory. I just believe it's best they be raised by professionals, nannies and such. We discussed this. Our children would have the best care money can buy." "Our children," Ethan repeated slowly. "Victoria, can you honestly tell me you see Lily as one of our children?" Victoria's mask slipped for a moment, revealing the underlying distaste. She is the product of an unfortunate past relationship. We will provide for her financially, naturally, but I don't think it's appropriate for her to be heavily involved in our lives. It would be confusing for any children we have together. Ethan felt something snap inside his chest. How had he not seen this before? Or had he simply chosen not to look too closely? I'm breaking off the engagement, he said quietly. Victoria's face went pale, then red. You can't be serious. The wedding is in 3 months. The invitations have been sent. The venue is booked. I'm completely serious. This isn't working, Victoria. We want different things. We are different people. This is about her, isn't it? That nurse and her little bastard. Victoria's voice turned poisonous. She's manipulating you, Ethan. Don't you see it? She hid your child for years, and now suddenly she lets you play daddy? She's after your money. Ethan stood up, his jaw tight with anger. Don't you ever speak of Sarah or Lily like that. This isn't about them. This is about us. The fact that I have been fooling myself, thinking we could build a life together, when we don't even share the same values. You are making a mistake, Ethan. A huge mistake. That woman will ruin you. No, Victoria. Marrying you would have ruined me. I just wasn't clear-headed enough to see it until now. He pulled the engagement ring from his pocket, the one he had been wearing on a chain around his neck since the accident. I'm sorry. I should have seen it sooner. He placed the ring on the table and walked away. His injuries made every step painful, but his heart felt lighter than it had in months. Building a family. 2 weeks later, Ethan was discharged from the hospital. Richard White had arranged a suite at the Portland Hilton with a private nurse to aid in his recovery, but Ethan had other plans. Cancel the hotel, he told Richard. I'm renting an apartment, something modest, in Midtown. Richard looked confused. An apartment? Ethan, you have a mansion in the West Hills. A mansion that feels like a mausoleum. I need something different, something closer to real life. What he didn't say was something closer to Lily and Sarah. He found a 2-bedroom apartment in a brick house in Hawthorne, a neighborhood with tree-lined streets and local coffee shops. It wasn't what anyone would expect from a millionaire CEO, but it felt right. It felt like a place where a little girl in a red dress would be comfortable visiting. Lily's reaction when she saw the apartment for the first time confirmed his choice. You have a park across the street, she exclaimed, running to the window. And a bookstore on the corner. Daddy, this is great. Daddy. She called him that naturally now, and every time she did, Ethan felt his heart expand a little more. Sarah stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, her expression guarded. Ethan, you didn't have to move. We would have understood if you wanted to keep your distance. Take things slow. I already missed 7 years, Ethan said, meeting her eyes. I don't want to miss any more, and taking things slow isn't the same as keeping my distance. I want to be a part of Lily's life, truly a part of it. That means being accessible, being present. Something softened in Sarah's face. Okay, but Ethan, we need to set some ground rules for Lily's sake. She's already attached to you, and if you aren't serious about this, I am serious, Ethan interrupted. Sarah, I know I have a lot to prove. I know you have no reason to trust me after everything that's happened, but I am absolutely serious about being Lily's father. They set up a schedule, Wednesday nights and Sunday afternoons to start. Ethan had physical therapy and work responsibilities to balance, but he made sure those times with Lily were sacred. No phone calls, no emails, no distractions. The first Wednesday night, Ethan tried to cook dinner. It was a disaster. The pasta was overcooked, the sauce burned, and the smoke alarm went off twice. Lily found it hilarious. Maybe we should order pizza, she suggested diplomatically, waving the smoke away with a dish towel. That might be prudent, Ethan admitted, laughing despite his frustration. I'm not much of a cook. It's okay. Mommy burns things sometimes too. She says cooking is a science, but she's better at nursing science than cooking science. They ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the floor of Ethan's mostly unfurnished living room. Lily told him about her week at school, how her best friend Emma had moved, and she was sad, how she was chosen to be the line leader on Friday. Ethan listened to every word, etching it all into his memory. These were the small moments that made up a childhood, and he was determined not to miss any more. On Sunday, he took Lily to the Portland Children's Museum. She dragged him from exhibit to exhibit, her enthusiasm boundless. They built structures in the construction zone, explored the science lab, and played in the imagination playground. Ethan found himself laughing more than he had in years, seeing the world through Lily's curious and joyful eyes. At the gift shop, Lily paused at a book about the human heart. "It's for my science project," she explained. "But it's kind of expensive. It's okay, we don't have to get it." Ethan heard the echo of Sarah in that statement, the careful managing of expectations that came from living on a tight budget. Without hesitation, he bought the book, along with a few others Lily had eyed. "Daddy, it's too much," Lily protested, though her eyes sparkled with delight. "Nonsense. Education is never too much. Besides, these are research materials, very important for a future doctor." On the way home, Lily was quiet, hugging her books. Finally, she said, "Daddy, are you going to get tired of me?" Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What?" "Lily, no, never. Why would you ask that?" Emma's dad left when she was little. He said he got tired of being a dad and wanted to do fun things. And you're so busy and important. And if you decide being a dad is too hard, Ethan pulled into a parking lot and turned to face his daughter. Her blue eyes were worried, vulnerable, in a way that broke his heart. "Lily, look at me. I am never going to get tired of you. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Being your dad is not hard. It is a gift. Yes, I'm busy sometimes, and yes, I'm still learning how to do this. But I promise you, you will always be my priority. Always. Really." Her voice was small. "Really? In fact, I'm going to tell you something I hope you understand. I have a big company that I run, and people think that's the most important thing about me. But they're wrong. The most important thing about me is that I am your father. Nothing else comes close." Lily launched herself across the console and hugged him tightly. "I love you, Daddy." Ethan closed his eyes, holding his daughter, feeling the pure weight of those words. "I love you too, Lily. Oh, much." The unbreakable bond as weeks turned into months. Ethan's life transformed in ways he never anticipated. He cut back his hours at Caldwell Dynamics, delegating more to his executive team. He never scheduled meetings during Lily's hours. He learned about elementary school social dynamics, Disney princesses, and the care and feeding of goldfish. He also spent more time with Sarah, though their interactions remained careful, polite. She would drop Lily off and pick her up, staying a few minutes to talk about Lily's week, any school issues, upcoming events. It was civil, almost friendly, but there was a wall between them that neither seemed ready to cross. Until the night of the charity gala, Caldwell Dynamics hosted an annual fundraiser for medical research, and this year's event was particularly significant, given Ethan's recent accident. The bad media attention surrounding his recovery had been intense, and the company's PR team had suggested he make a public appearance to reassure investors and stakeholders that he was back to full capacity. Ethan hadn't planned on bringing anyone. Victoria was out of the picture, thank goodness, and he wasn't interested in the parade of suitable women his well-meaning board members kept suggesting. But a week before the event, Lily had asked if she could come. "I want to see where you work," she said, "and I have a new dress. It's fancy." Ethan had looked at Sarah, who was clearly uncomfortable with the idea. "Lily, honey, it's an adult event. You'd probably be bored. Please, I promise I'll be good. I just want to see what Daddy does." How could he say no to that? The night of the gala, Ethan arrived at Sarah's modest apartment to pick up Lily. When Sarah opened the door, he nearly forgot to breathe. She was wearing a simple navy dress that she probably had owned for years, but she looked stunning. Her blonde hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders, and she had put on just a touch of makeup that made her blue eyes even more striking. "You look beautiful," he said. Before he could stop himself, Sarah blushed. Looking away, sure. "Thank you, I cleaned up decent." Lily appeared behind her mother, practically bouncing with excitement. Her fancy dress was red, of course, with a full skirt that swung as she moved. She looked like a tiny princess. "Mommy, we match, both fancy." Lily twirled, making her dress spin. "You both look perfect," Ethan said. "Shall we go?" The gala was held at the Portland Center for the Performing Arts, the ballroom draped in spectacular lighting and elegant floral arrangements. Ethan had been to hundreds of these events, but seeing it through Lily's eyes made it magical again. "It's like a fairy tale," Lily whispered, her eyes wide. They made their way through the crowd, Ethan stopping frequently to greet colleagues and donors. He introduced Lily to everyone as his daughter, pride as evident in every word. Lily charmed everyone she met with her polite manners and genuine curiosity about their work. Sarah stayed close, a hand on Lily's shoulder, clearly out of her comfort zone in this world of designer gowns and champagne flutes. Ethan wished he could make her feel more comfortable, but he was constantly being pulled into conversations and photo opportunities. It was Victoria who shattered the night's fragile peace. She appeared like a storm cloud, in a silver gown that probably cost more than Sarah's monthly salary, her eyes fixed on Ethan with predatory intensity. "Ethan, darling, we need to talk," her voice said with that fake sweetness that meant trouble. "Victoria, this isn't the time." "Oh, I think it is. How quaint. You brought your little bastard to a professional event. How modern of you." Victoria's gaze upward swept over Sarah and Lily, her smile turning sharp. Sarah's face went white. Lily looked confused, not understanding the insult, but sensing the hostility. Ethan stepped between Victoria and his daughter, his voice low and dangerous. "Leave. Now. I won't. I have every right to be here. My family has donated to this cause for decades." Victoria raised her voice, drawing the attention of nearby guests. "I think everyone should know what kind of man you really are, Ethan. A man who shirked his responsibilities and is now parading his mistakes in front of respectable society." The nearby conversation stopped. People looked over. Ethan could see phones being raised, social media posts being drafted in real time. "The only mistake I made was getting involved with you," Ethan said coldly. "You need to go before I have security escort you out." "Security?" Victoria laughed, but it was a brittle sound. "You can't throw me out of a public event, but I can tell everyone here the truth. I can tell them how this woman," she gestured toward Sarah, "trapped you with a pregnancy and disappeared, only to come crawling back when she saw an opportunity to cash in." "That is not what happened," Ethan said, raising his voice. "You know nothing about it." "Oh, I think I do. Let me paint a picture for everyone here. 8 years ago, Ethan Caldwell had a fling with a nursing student. She got pregnant, probably on purpose. But when she realized Ethan was more focused on his career than playing house, she left. Now she's conveniently back, with a child she claims is his. A child whose DNA has never been verified, I might add. And Ethan, being the good-hearted fool that he is falling for the oldest trick in the book." The crowd murmured. Ethan saw doubt in some faces, pity in others, and he felt rage building in his chest. But it was Lily who broke the tension. She stepped forward, her small face set with a determination that was painfully reminiscent of Ethan's own stubborn character. She reached into her small purse and pulled out a piece of paper, carefully unfolded. "This is my blood type card from when I donated blood to save my daddy," Lily said, her voice ringing out in the sudden silence. "It says AB negative. That's the same as Daddy's. And Mommy says that's special because not many people have it. My teacher says when a child has a special blood type, they get it from their parents." She walked up to Victoria, looking up at the tall woman fearlessly. "You said mean things about my mommy, but my mommy is the best person in the whole wide world. She works very hard to take care of me. She never asked Daddy for anything. I was the one who wanted to meet him. I was the one who gave him blood when he was dying. My mommy tried to protect Daddy even when it hurt her. That's not a bad person. That's a hero." The silence was absolute. Lily turned to the crowd, her blue eyes shining with tears, but her voice firm. "My daddy didn't know about me because somebody told my mommy that telling him would hurt his dreams. My mommy loved him so much, she gave up having him in her life so he could be successful. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe she should have told him. But she did it because she loved him, not for money. For love." She looked at Ethan, and he saw his mother's strength in her, mixed with Sarah's compassion. "I'm proud that my daddy is successful, but you know what I'm most proud of? That he chose me. Even though he was busy and important, he chose to be my daddy. That makes him a hero too." Lily turned back to Victoria one last time. "You're pretty on the outside, but you're not pretty on the inside. My mommy taught me that being pretty on the inside is way more important." Then she walked back to Sarah, who was now openly weeping, and took her mother's hand. The crowd erupted, not in scandal, but in applause. People were clapping, some were cheering, and Ethan saw more than one person wiping their eyes. He knelt in front of Lily, not caring about his expensive suit or the audience. "Lily, that was the bravest thing I have ever seen, and you are right. Your mother is a hero. She is the strongest, most selfless person I know." He stood up and turned to Victoria. "I think you've embarrassed yourself enough for one night. Security will escort you out." 2 security guards appeared as if summoned, and Victoria had no choice but to leave, her face flushed with humiliation and rage. As the crowd began to disperse, returning to their drinks and conversations, Ethan found himself face to face with Sarah. She was still crying, her makeup slightly smeared, looking more beautiful than he had ever seen her. "Ethan, I am so sorry," she whispered. "We never should have come. I knew this was a bad idea." "Stop," he interrupted softly. "This wasn't a bad idea. Tonight, everyone in this room got to see what I see every day. They got to see my incredible, brave daughter. They got to see you, the woman who sacrificed everything for the people she loves." He reached out and wiped a tear from Sarah's cheek, the touch sending electricity through both of them. "I've been an idiot, Sarah. For 8 years, I convinced myself that success was the most important thing, that building an empire mattered more than building a life. But you knew better. You understood what truly matters." "I made mistakes too," Sarah said. "I should have trusted you. I should have believed in us. Maybe we both made mistakes, but maybe—" Ethan's voice dropped, intimate, despite the crowded room. "Maybe we both get a second chance. Sarah, I'm not saying we rush. I'm not saying we pick up where we left off 8 years ago, because we are different people now. But Sarah, these last few months spending time with you and Lily have been the happiest of my life. And I think maybe, if you're willing, we could see where this goes." Sarah looked at him, her blue eyes scrutinizing his face. "What about your company? The merger? All the things that were so important before. They are still important. But they are not the most important thing. You and Lily, you are the most important thing. I finally realized that." He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "It just took a near-death experience and a lesson from a 7-year-old to drill it into my thick head." Sarah laughed through her tears. "She is pretty persuasive. She gets that from her mother." They stood there, the noise of the gala fading into background music, looking at each other as if they were the only 2 people in the room. 8 years of pain, separation, and misunderstanding stood between them. But so did a beautiful little girl who had saved both their lives in different ways. "I would like that," Sarah finally said, "taking things slow, seeing where this goes. But Ethan, I need you to understand something. Lily comes first. Always. If this doesn't work out between us, I need to know you will still be her father. Always," Ethan promised. "Sarah, I will be Lily's father for the rest of my life, regardless of what happens between us. But I truly hope you'll give me the chance to prove I can be the man you both deserve." Before Sarah could respond, Lily darted between them, taking both their hands. "Can we go get ice cream on the way home? I think we all deserve ice cream after tonight." Ethan and Sarah looked at each other and laughed. "Ice cream sounds perfect," Ethan agreed, as they walked out of the gala together. Ethan, with a daughter on one side and the woman he had never stopped loving on the other, felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt whole. The meaningful ending. A promise beneath the stars. The months that followed were a careful dance of rebuilding trust and building something new. Ethan and Sarah actually dated this time, with movies and dinners and long walks through Washington Park. They talked about everything, working through the pain of their past, sharing their fears and hopes for the future. Lily flourished with both parents in her life. Her grades improved, her confidence grew, and she stopped asking if Ethan would disappear. She knew now that he was here to stay. Ethan also made changes at Caldwell Dynamics. He created a foundation in Lily's name, focused on ensuring blood availability for rare types. He implemented family-friendly policies across the company, including extended parental leave and flexible hours. He found that being a better father made him a better leader. Richard White, plagued by guilt over his role in keeping Ethan and Sarah apart, offered his resignation as CFO. But Ethan wouldn't accept it. Instead, they had a long talk about loyalty, forgiveness, and second chances. Richard stayed, but their relationship was different now, built on honesty rather than unquestioning deference. The media coverage of the gala incident, instead of being the scandal Victoria expected, turned into a heartwarming story of family reunification. Ethan's honesty about his daughter and his relationship with Sarah made him more relatable, more human. The TechSphere merger went through smoothly, and Caldwell Dynamics prospered. But, more importantly, Ethan prospered. He learned to braid Lily's hair, even though his attempts were comically crooked. He attended every school play and parent-teacher conference. He had dinner with Sarah and Lily at least 4 times a week, and those nights became the highlight of his days. On a warm spring evening, almost a year after the accident that changed everything, Ethan took Sarah and Lily to the International Rose Test Garden. The flowers were in full bloom, painting the landscape with vibrant colors. Lily ran ahead, exclaiming over every new bloom she discovered. Sarah and Ethan walked hand in hand behind her, content in each other's presence. "Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if things had been different?" Sarah asked. "If your father hadn't interfered, if I hadn't left?" Ethan considered the question. "Sometimes, but then I think about who we were then. We were so young, Sarah. I was ambitious and impulsive, but I didn't understand what truly mattered. You were finding yourself, figuring out who you wanted to be. Maybe we needed these 8 years to become the people who could make this work." "That's a very optimistic way to look at it," Sarah said with a smile. "I'm an optimistic man these days. I have a lot to be optimistic about." Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. "Sarah, I know we said we'd take it slow, and we have. But there's something I need to ask you," Sarah gasped. "Ethan, wait, let me finish. 8 years ago, I lost the love of my life because I didn't fight hard enough. Because I let other people's opinions and ambitions matter more than what we had. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Sarah Miller, I love you. I love your strength, your compassion, Your terrible cooking. The way you hum when you're happy. I want to spend the rest of my life making up for lost time and building new memories. He pulled a small box from his pocket and opened it. Inside was a ring, simple and elegant, with a single sapphire that matched Sarah's eyes. Will you marry me? Will you allow me to be not just Lily's father, but your husband? Will you build a life with me? Sarah was crying again, but these were tears of happiness. Yes, 1,000 times. Yes. Ethan slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her. A kiss 8 years in the making, tender and passionate and full of promise. Lily's whoop of joy interrupted them. She ran back, clearly having been observing from a strategic distance. Are you getting married? Are we going to be a real family? We've always been a real family, honey, Ethan said, pulling both Lily and Sarah into a hug. But yes, now it's official. Can I be the flower girl? Can I wear a red dress? Can Mr. Bubbles be the ring bearer? Ethan and Sarah laughed. Yes to the first two, Sarah said. We'll have to think about Mr. Bubbles. As they walked through the gardens together, now truly a family, Ethan felt a deep gratitude. Gratitude for the accident that had brought him to the brink of death and back. Gratitude for a brave little girl who had saved his life in more ways than one. Gratitude for Sarah's forgiveness and her willingness to trust him again. The wedding took place 3 months later, a small, intimate ceremony in the same gardens where Ethan had proposed. Lily was indeed the flower girl, in a beautiful red dress she would treasure forever. Mr. Bubbles did not attend, but a tablet was set up at the reception so Lily could show him the celebration via video call, which amused all the guests. Dr. Michael Peterson walked Sarah down the aisle, having become a surrogate father figure to her over the years. Mrs. Thompson sat in the front row, weeping happy tears. Richard White served as Ethan's best man, a symbol of redemption and renewed friendship. As Ethan watched Sarah walk toward him, beautiful in a simple white gown, with Lily skipping ahead, dropping rose petals, he thought of the journey that had brought them here. The pain, the separation, the accident, the revelation, the slow rebuilding of trust. It hadn't been easy, but standing there now, he knew every struggle had been worth it. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, Lily's voice rang out. If anybody says anything mean, they have to leave. It's my mommy and daddy, and they love each other. Period. The guests burst into laughter and applause. Even the officiant smiled. The ceremony concluded with Ethan and Sarah's vows, self-written and filled with promises about family, forgiveness, and forever. As they kissed as husband and wife, Lily jumped between them, wrapping her arms around both their legs. Best day ever, she announced. The reception was joyful and relaxed. Ethan danced with Sarah, then with Lily, then with both of them. They cut the cake, gave toasts, and celebrated surrounded by people who truly cared. As the night drew to a close, Ethan stood at the edge of the dance floor, watching his wife and daughter dance together, both laughing. Sarah caught his eye and smiled, a smile filled with love, contentment, and hope for the future. Lily broke away from Sarah and ran to Ethan, pulling him onto the dance floor. "Come on, Daddy, family dance!" The three of them danced together as the last song played, holding each other close. Around them, the garden lights twinkled like stars, and the air was sweet with the scent of blossoms. "I love you both so much," Ethan murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "We love you too," Sarah whispered. "To the moon and back," Lily added, her favorite expression for love. As the music faded and the night came to an end, Ethan reflected on the incredible twist of fate that had brought them here. He had almost died, and in being saved by his daughter's blood, he had not only been given physical life, but a real life. A life filled with love, purpose, and the kind of happiness he didn't know was possible. They walked out of the reception together, getting into Ethan's car for the drive to their new home. Not the West Hills mansion, which Ethan had sold, but a beautiful house in Hawthorne, with a big backyard for Lily and a room for Mr. Bubbles, and enough space for a family to grow. As they pulled into the driveway, Lily, in her car seat in the back, had fallen asleep with her bouquet still clutched in her hand. Sarah reached over and took Ethan's hand. "We made it," she said softly. "Despite everything, we made it." "We made it," Ethan nodded, bringing her hand to his lips. "And this is only the beginning." They carried Lily inside and put her to bed, still in her red dress, too tired to change. Ethan stood in her doorway for a long moment, watching her sleep, still unable to believe this incredible child was his daughter. Later, as he and Sarah sat on their porch swing looking at the stars, Ethan thought of the words he had heard that night in the hospital when he had first woken up. A little girl had saved his life with her blood, but it was so much more than that. Lily had saved his life by showing him what truly mattered. Sarah had saved his life by teaching him about forgiveness, sacrifice, and the love that endures beyond understanding. And by saving his life, they had given him something far more precious than merely existing. They had given him a reason to live, a purpose beyond profit margins and quarterly reports. They had given him a family. "What are you thinking about?" Sarah asked, snuggled against his shoulder. "I'm thinking about how a man can have everything and still have nothing, and how the things that matter most are often the things we overlook until we almost lose them." Ethan kissed the top of her head. "I'm thinking about how grateful I am that Lily insisted on donating blood that night. How different everything would be if she hadn't been so brave." "She saved us both," Sarah said. "We were both trapped, Ethan. Me with my guilt, and you with your ambition. Lily gave us our lives back. She gave us back to each other." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes with deep intimacy and trust. Inside, their daughter slept peacefully, secure in the love of both her parents. In the fish tank on her dresser, Mr. Bubbles swam in lazy circles, a silent witness to the happiness that had finally found its way to this family. Ethan Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Dynamics, millionaire and entrepreneur, had achieved more than he ever dreamed possible. But as he sat there with his wife's hand in his and his daughter sleeping safely inside their home, he knew his greatest achievement had nothing to do with board meetings or mergers. His greatest achievement was right here, in this moment, in this life, built on second chances and the fierce, unbreakable bonds of family. Lily had saved him that night in the hospital. It was true, but she continued to save him every day, just by being exactly who she was. And he would spend the rest of his life making sure both she and Sarah knew they were his entire world, his raison d'etre. As the night deepened and the stars shone brighter, Ethan held Sarah close and whispered a promise to the universe, a vow that went beyond the ones they had made at their wedding. He promised never to forget what truly mattered. He promised to be the father Lily deserved and the husband Sarah needed. He promised to measure his life not in dollars or achievements, but in moments like these, quiet and perfect and full of love. And in that promise, Ethan Caldwell finally found the success he had been searching for all along. Not in a boardroom or a bank account, but in the simple, extraordinary miracle of family. Call to action. Your final thoughts. We would love to hear your thoughts on this beautiful love story. Let us know what you thought of this tale full of emotions and surprises. Tell us your name, where you are watching from, and rate this story from 0 to 10 if it touched your heart. And if you enjoyed the plot, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the amazing new stories coming up. We'll see you next time.